This is the GoPro Hero 11 Black that I got on Black Friday for $280. It includes 2 Enduro batteries, a tripod, micro SD card, as well as a carrying case. And today we're going to unbox it, do a full review of this camera, and compare it against my 3-year-old GoPro Hero 8 Black to see how much progress GoPro has made in 3 years. Let's get started. Let's open it up. There you go. With the GoPro camera. And we got 2 Enduro batteries. A USB-C cable, the GoPro mount, another adhesive mount, and we got the GoPro tripod. And finally, we have a 64 gig micro SD card. The GoPro 11 has a similar body style to the previous iterations, but there are some key differences between this and the GoPro 8. First, the GoPro 11 has a slightly larger body and weighs in at 154 grams, slightly heavier than the GoPro 8's 126 grams. It also features a 27 megapixel 1/1.9 inch sensor, significantly more than the 12 megapixel on the GoPro 8, which allows it to shoot higher resolution videos and gives the stabilization more room to work. The rear screen is now slightly larger, measuring at 2.27 inches. It also features a 1.4 inch color screen in the front, although it's not touch compatible. The GoPro 11 uses GoPro's newest Enduro battery, which is physically larger and has a capacity of 1720 mAh, 40% more than the battery on the 8. The battery life test will test the continuous recording time of commonly used resolutions and frame rates under an ideal temperature-controlled indoor environment. To achieve this, GPS and Wi-Fi are turned off, the lens is set to wide, Hypersmooth is on, bitrate is set to high, template color enabled on the GoPro 11, sharpness is set to low, and ISO manually set to 100 on both cameras. The GoPro 11 actually overheated after just 33 minutes of shooting 5K 60 frames per second with 44% battery left, so I moved the cameras onto the air purifier to get some airflow. Here's a table of my test results and the claimed recording times listed on the GoPro website. Under the ideal conditions I tested, both GoPros managed to beat the claimed recording times in all the formats tested. It's surprising how well the original battery in the Hero 8 holds up after 4 years of use. For the Hero 11, there is not much improvement in battery life when dropping down from 5.3K to 4K. If overheating isn't a problem, I would just always shoot 5.3K and downsample later. The GoPro 11 has 5 different field of view settings when shooting in 16:9. The default setting is wide, which allows for a decently large field of view with some distortion. You can also switch to the tighter linear mode, which completely eliminates distortion. The optional horizon lock in linear mode will keep the horizon leveled no matter which way the camera is tilted. Super View allows you to go even wider, capturing more horizontally and vertically. Hyperview takes the largest image produced by the 8x7 image sensor and compresses the image to fit the 16:9 format, allowing even more vertical space to be captured. You can also shoot your videos in either 4x3 or 8x7, allowing you to capture more vertically without the compression distortion produced by Hyperview, although your frame rate will be limited to 30 FPS in 5K. On the GoPro 8, you're limited to just Super View and wide when shooting in 4K. For the image quality test, both cameras will be shooting using the wide lens and the sharpness set to low. GoPro 11 will be shooting 5K 30 using the natural color profile, while the GoPro 8 will be shooting 4K 30 using the GoPro color profile. Looking at the driveway, the GoPro 11 clearly captures the details in the tire marks that are barely visible on the 8. The details on the building also look significantly more clear on the 11. Zooming in on the trash can, the text is a lot sharper on the GoPro 11. Looking at the tiles on the wall, the GoPro 11 is able to bring out a lot more fine detail. Here's a high dynamic range scene, and the GoPro 11 captures details in the highlights and shadows effortlessly. On the GoPro 8, some highlights are blown out and details are completely lost in the shadows. It really shows how much of a better job the processor on the 11 is at bringing out the details. The extra resolution helps the GoPro 11 capture the smallest branches on the tree that are invisible on the GoPro 8. However, the 11 here seems to be doing too much processing and the color on the 8 looks more natural. Here's another demonstration of the GoPro 11's ability to bring out the details in the shadows. But it's not all good news for the GoPro 11 though. Because of the extra processing to bring out all the details, the imperfections on the skin are greatly exaggerated. The skin looks smoother with more natural colors on the GoPro 8. Here's another example where the extra detail can hurt the image. On the GoPro 11, there is significant amount of noise on the face and the jacket. Here's a high dynamic range scene where I shot straight into the sun. On the GoPro 11, the lens flare is very well controlled. The image remains sharp with plenty of details, although there is visible noise in the shadows. On the GoPro 8, the lens flare is a lot more pronounced. The image is generally softer with less fine details, but there's a bit less noise in the shadows. The sun is about to set. In this lighting, both GoPros are still producing usable footage. The GoPro 11's image still has more detail and clarity, but there is noticeably more noise than on the GoPro 8. The 8 seems to prioritize noise reduction, whereas the 11 cares about bringing out as much detail as possible. In this scene, the 11 does a better job bringing out the details in the shadows, but introduces more noise in the process. But I will still prefer the sharper and more detailed image on the 11 here.
No, it's alright.
In this high dynamic range scene of the sunset, the GoPro 11 captures a little more detail in the highlights and shadows. Overall, for shooting around sunset, the GoPro 11 still has superior image quality, although the noise will be more visible. Now it's about 10 minutes after sunset. In this low light situation, the image quality on both cameras has degraded quite a bit. The GoPro 11 still maintains a tad more detail, but has a lot more noise in the image. In this scene, although the 11 is better exposed, the extra noise makes this image look pretty bad compared to the more noise-reduced image on the 8. This next scene shows that the stabilization on both cameras has suffered as a result of the slower shutter speeds. Wow, just look at that sunset and noise. And about 20 minutes later, it's getting really dark out here. Both cameras are producing garbage at this point. Both the GoPro 11 and 8 can shoot slow motion at 60, 120, and 240 frames per second, but the 11 can shoot at a higher resolution at all frame rates. At 60 frames per second, the 5K footage on the 11 looks sharp with plenty of details. The 4K footage on the 8 is pretty good too. At 120 frames per second, the 4K footage from the 11 still looks pretty good. The 2.7K footage from the 8 looks noticeably softer. At 240 frames per second, the 2.7K footage from the 11 looks significantly softer, and the 1080p footage from the 8 is pretty terrible and shows a lot of color noise. If I ever need to shoot slow motion using my GoPro 11, I will be very comfortable using 4K 120 frames per second, but avoid anything lower. As for stabilization, the GoPro 11 offers 4 modes. Off, which looks super shaky for this type of light off-road riding. Hyper Smooth is the regular mode and does a good job in most scenarios, except the most demanding situations. This clip is stable for the most part, but there are occasional small jitters in the camera's framing. Hyper Smooth plus Boost crops in tighter and allows the stabilization more sensor space to work with. As can be seen here, this video is super smooth and stable. Hyper Smooth plus Auto Boost automatically crops in tighter when the camera is more shaky, and zooms out to allow for a wider field of view when the camera is more stable. The GoPro 8 only has Off and Hyper Smooth. Here's a comparison between the Hyper Smooth on the 11 and 8. As you can see, the regular Hyper Smooth on the 11 does a much better job here. This is an audio test on the GoPros. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you find this content useful. This is an audio test on the GoPros. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you find this content useful. How does the audio sound when there is a lot of So, should you buy a GoPro 11? If you're primarily shooting in the day and have plenty of light to work with, you'll be pleased with the image quality of the GoPro 11. The 5K resolution, together with some pretty crazy processing, really brings out any and all details in your videos. The slow motion also looks good, now that you can shoot 4K at 120 frames per second. Stabilization has also been improved and now offers multiple modes to choose from. For $280, given that you also get an extra battery, the value you get from this package is really hard to beat. But if you need to do a lot of shooting in low light, look elsewhere, because you won't be getting it done with this camera.